welcome back for another episode of Blue Dope. I'm Olivia Dope.
And it's Blue, baby.
We took a week off, but we're here again, back with another one.
Hey, you know we can't just breeze by like that on the people. You know we had y'all hitting us up asking why we didn't pop up on your feeds last week.
Life happens, a little unforeseen circumstances, nothing too major, but we're here with the vibes.
I mean, to be fully transparent, we need to make sure that we're giving you all the best show we can with the promise of getting better and better with time. Quality over quantity.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We're excited to be back on track. This week we have our conversation with Pierre of Visuals by Pierre.
I mean, Pierre is a true visionary, an artist with a purpose. You know, I've watched his work from a distance for years, so I was happy to be able to just chop it up with him for this one. I mean, y'all know I'm always trying to get the insight from all the shooters.
Let's get right to it.
Visuals by Pierre, y'all.
Okay, so welcome, Pierre. This is Blue Dope.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Awesome. How is everything with you? Just journeying through this thing called life. How have you been?
It's been good. It's been filled with ups. It's been filled with downs, like most people over the past, year and a half. But I think we're going more on the upward slope, so that's feeling really good. I was really good about that. Yeah.
Because speaking of the trigger word called 2020,
Mm-hmm.
How did you deal with that as a creative? Like, what was that journey like in the past year of trying to navigate this new normal?
Oh man, I feel like 2020 was like just filled with a lot of just reflection and like a lot of like time for like your thoughts and time for you to be with yourself. That's something that I now look back and say like I didn't do enough of or have enough time to even do, to really like evaluate things in my life, my personal life, my career, and finding out where that balance lies and stuff. So that's kind of what 2020 really was for me. And I feel like for a lot of other people as well. It's like very like reflective type of year.
For those who don't know who Visuals by Pierre is, where are you from? How'd you get started as a photographer, filmmaker, curator? How did you get started?
Oh man. So I mean, if I had to do the quick cliff notes, I'm from Far Rockaway, Queens. Born and raised to two immigrant Haitian parents. So
six borough.
Six borough. Six borough. Last stop on the A train. So shout out Far Rock. So I'm born and raised from there. Yeah, man, my So I'm born and raised from there. I went through elementary, preschool, the whole nine like that. And Far Rock raised me. After that, for college, I went to St. John's University where I studied like TV and film. Because I wanted to be a film producer. And then, I think right after, graduating from St. John's, like the industry kind of shifted in a sense, right? Because a lot of people were not using like the DVX 100 big cameras that we were using before in school. And they started using like DSLRs, which are like, cameras and whatnot to shoot like short films and whatnot. And even after I had graduated, I did a couple student short films, like acted in them. And then I saw what they were using. And I was like, damn, like people are using like regular cameras to shoot these movies now. So let me get my hands on one, just so I could just like learn and use and, kind of teach myself this new technology now at the time. So I did that. All the while I was working 9 to 5. Right after college, I worked at a not-for-profit sector. I was working with developmentally disabled people. I was just helping make sure that they get all their rights and stuff like that were being taken care of. They were, going to medical appointments and whatnot. And it was really, really fulfilling for a really long time. But I would say at a certain point in time, it wasn't really my passion. I feel as though like photography and video and storytelling, like that was something that was more like, more innate to me, something that felt more fulfilling to me. And then, so like I was helping my friend actually. It's a funny story how like I transitioned into photography full time was my friend was shooting a wedding and he had asked me to come help him out. And I didn't ask for the time off from my job in time. And I was already like on probation from like a trip, that I had before, that I didn't, whatever. long story short, I was already on thin ice. And so, like, he was like, yo, bro, I need you to really pull up for this wedding. Like, if you don't come, like, I'm screwed or whatever. So I was just like, fuck, what do I do? And then I was just like, fuck it, I'm just not gonna come to work. So I just didn't show up at all. I went to the gig.
No show.
No, yeah, no call, no show. I was out. I did the gig. Yeah, I did the gig. I was just like, whatever. It wasn't even like it was like a great life-changing money or anything like that. But it was like I couldn't let my friend down. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go do the thing. And I got back, and then, you know, they seemed pretty cool after a little bit. But maybe like a week or two later, I got that pink slip saying that I was fired and shit. And it was like a really like pivotal moment, I would say, in my life. It was like I was sad because I never got fired from anything before in my life. You know, I feel like I always looked at myself as somebody who could, like, not an overachiever, but somebody who was capable of just doing a job, right, and just continue to do it well. And I did do it well. I was there for like 5 years, but I never really failed at anything completely anyway, right? So that was my first little taste of like just failure at something, but it was for the better because, you know, from then on, I told myself like I really wanted to do photography full time, and that, you know, like I'm gonna make it work some way somehow. So after that, I got a place in Harlem. I was which is kind of crazy because it's on the opposite, or damn near the opposite side of the A train. So I kind of just like switched crazy.
That's
like,
a long trip.
It was a long trip, man. But you know, I took whatever savings I had. I moved to this apartment, and I was like, all right, I got to figure out how I could at least be in the city and just like pay my rent. Like that was literally just the goal, because I knew that if I was like, you know, closer to everything that's going on, like being as far as proximity wise, that something could happen. You know, just being around things happening tends to like get you in motion. So, and I was always coming to Manhattan all the time, so like it was perfect. And so my homie put me on to a bike messenger job because he was bike messaging while like he was working at like Michael Kors like mailroom, homie Joe. And then I was like, I can make like $500 a week from doing this thing. So like I would deliver mail packages during the day on my bike, and then I would at nighttime I got another job as delivering food. So I was like delivering food at night. So that kind of was my all around daytime like hustle pretty much, just to like just make rent. And so yeah, all the while I was doing that, I had my camera with me. So I was seeing all of Manhattan during this job. So like I was shooting the city crazy, like hitting all these spots. And it was also around the time when like Instagram also started buzzing up too. And then I kind of got involved with the photography community out here in New York, you know, meeting people, seeing people, then having like, you know, social networking and helping my following grow. And then I think my friend's sister, Yannick, she put me on to this fashion blogger by the name of Claire Somers. And she told me that she has a site, she's a blogger, but she needs somebody to take her photos. And I'm like, will she pay my rate? And my rate was like dumb low. I didn't even like know what a proper rate was, but I was like, will she pay my rate? And then she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, amazing. Like, so then what I was doing was I was like riding my bikes during the day. She'll pop up somewhere in the city, and then she'll be like, hey, I want to shoot like this fit, or we can get this quick shoot in. And I was like, all right, cool. So I'll ride my bike. I'll go over and meet her, lock my bike up, take my camera out, shoot her real quick, edit the photos real quick, send to her so she could post online and stuff like that. And that was like the first meeting that happened. And then I didn't realize who she really was. Like, I didn't know how popular she was. Like, so Claire, you know, as soon as she tagged me, I was like having like a whole bunch of girls hit me up and stuff like that, saying like, oh, like you're on Claire's thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking about? I don't even know. Like, anything like that. And so like that's also like my first entryway into like the fashion world was through Fashion Bomb, and it was through Claire. Wow. And yeah, it was like really like one of like those pivotal life-changing moments in your life that you could actually like recount on was meeting her. And so like, you know, I would shoot with her, I would, you know, ride bikes. And then it got to a point where like she was like booking me a lot more and more, and then I was getting other clients through like my following, and also just through people wanting a photographer, and how it was getting more popular to the point where I didn't have to ride my bike anymore for work. So I was literally like starting to shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally just I just replaced the income that the bike was doing photography. So I was like literally just like now paying my bills, right? So I was like, all right, this is great. And so she would also like open my eyes up to a lot of different experiences too. So I would travel to different locations with her. I think we've been like Trinidad together, Virgin Islands. Where else? A couple other places too. Like she just would travel with me different places and stuff like that. So I kind of became a personal photographer. And from then on, like I said, building up with the photography community, I aligned with a bunch of photographers, started this magazine called Street Dreams Magazine. And it was like a magazine that was like really catered to the photography community in the sense that like it was on some FUBU shit, like for us by us type of vibe, you know. Before we had like other photography magazines out there, like a Nat Geo or any of these other labels were like not really from our culture, from the streets and whatnot. So this was like a new outlet, and so we started that, and we would do like shows in different cities. Even to most recently, maybe 2019, we did our latest show in Japan, obviously before all these things like shut down or whatever.
Wow.
So that was pretty dope. And
I don't know if I'm rambling or anything like that.
I mean, you dropped a lot of gems.
We asked like a very open-ended question.
Yeah.
And so you gave us the rundown that, I mean, essentially what we need to hear, what we want to hear.
Yeah.
So it's much appreciated.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I mean, I was just going for it.
You mentioned a lot of rich things, and when I say that, I mean just rich in culture. I mean, I want to start with Far Rock because Far Rock is known as the Six, bro, and I think there's a lot of culture that's come out of Far Rock, and over the years, people got more, I guess, in the know of what came out, and it's because of really in the rap scene, you had people like Stack Bundles and Chinks. So, I mean, just going back to Far Rock, it's also a tough place. So how did that shape you? And, you know, how did that make your hunger, if anything, exist?
Well, Far Rock really shaped me in the sense that, like, it was very, very rough. So, like I had Haitian immigrant parents who wasn't with the bullshit. So, like, and I had older siblings, right? So who all kind of was set really good examples for me growing up. Like, I have 4 sisters and a brother, all older than me. And so, like, I came up under them. Like, I went to the same junior high school as them. Like, there were certain expectations when they called the last name Pierre in class. There was an expectation from the student, you know. So I was like, I was just there floating through school. I was like very, very focused on that, and then knowing that there was much more than what was in front of me was kind of the thing that always made me like my mind turn. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would like spend afternoons just like watching movies, seeing things. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, this is a movie. Outside my door is not that, or it's a different kind of movie rather. So like what else is out there? So I was always very curious. And so I think like when you come from like that kind of environment, it's either you kind of like just emulate what's going on, or you have like this passion or the curiosity to get more of what's on outside of it. So that's kind of what fueled my drive and curiosity.
I'd say too, I mean, even for me, I'm a kid from Canarsie, and I think I'm from a neighborhood where a lot of people didn't really understand Canarsie. Yeah, they didn't understand the floors until Pop Smoke, right? But I mean, my out was definitely being able to go get some higher learning. So you mentioned St. John's, which is just another place that's rich in culture. You had, I know one of the Simmons went there. I believe J. Cole went there. So, I mean, what years were you in St. John's, and going from one part of Queens to another part to St. John's? Like, what was that vibe like for you, and how did St. John's shape you for that next level?
Yeah. So the St. John transition was really, really like, also a nice defining moment for me, I would say, because it was the first time that I didn't go to a school inside my immediate like neighborhood. So, I'd take the bus out there and whatnot to Jamaica. I would go to Jamaica often for like different things, but never for like school or just to like really fully hang out like that. So it opened my eyes to a whole new neighborhood, a whole new set of people, and just a more diverse set of people, because Far Rock was mostly like, Black, Hispanic, few Asian, like, St. John was like the first time I really was going to school, like white people from like those different backgrounds, other different Asian backgrounds, people from Flushing, like all that type of stuff. So like it was like it was just like a heightened set of more people and inspirations to draw from. Because, I mean, for me personally, like, people are like my biggest inspiration. I draw a lot from like different cultures, different backgrounds, different thought processes. And so it was like a really cool learning experience. Like I said, I went to school with, you know, a lot of like really dope, amazing people, you know. Shout out Too Nice. You know, Too Nice was like literally like, you know, the school of Too Nice, who's from Canarsie. They're all from Canarsie, Brooklyn guys who, like, you know, those are like the group of guys that I kind of came up with in college, really. And so, like, you know, the years dancing at St. John's and performing at different schools and whatnot, like, that was also like very like shaping, you know what I'm saying, in my personality and like even my trajectory as a person.
My memories of St. John's, well, I went to Hofstra, but going to St. John's, like, to visit, is the Haraya parties.
Yeah,
that's where I met everybody. Those are lit.
Our college party was lit. I don't know about how it is right now, but back then,
I don't know either. But yeah, like that was. I remember seeing like Too Nice and J. Cole, and like I remember seeing you, like, just. I remember I'm good with faces. So I remember seeing these particular faces at the Haraya parties and stuff like that, because the circles are small, but it's just interesting to see everybody transition into their perspective spaces.
Right.
So like for you to, you know, be a visual artist first and foremost, always. And now you're transitioning from photography to filmmaker. What was that transition like for you? Were you kind of, you know, hesitant at first? Was it something you always wanted to get into eventually?
So the funny part about it is that when I went to St. John's, I went to St. John for TV film because I wanted to be a film producer and like make films pretty much. But, you know, I don't know, circumstances, life doesn't immediately put you on that journey, you know, and then I got my entry to the visual arts was through photography because I got that camera that I could shoot videos on. So like after that, I was like, all right, this camera shoots video, yes, but like it also takes photos. So like let me start snapping. So I would like snap photos here, snap photos there, and then like just started to shoot around the city. And then like I said, like Instagram kind of popped up too. So like my my Instagram profile went from just putting up ratchet party photos to like actually showing my work and my art. You know, I use it as an outlet to just share creativity, and that's kind of like I would just say like that's kind of what triggered that transition into photography, and then filmmaking, right? And then filmmaking kind of came up as like I guess a reintroduction back into that world that I initially always wanted to be in, right? So it's like just like storytelling. So I even back as a kid, like I would like write plays and stuff in my house, and then I would just act them out with my cousins and stuff for family. So like I have just a desire to just tell different stories, and now filmmaking has been that kind of like that direction. And not to mention like my dear friend and partner Joe Cav, he was like also a big inspiration to getting me back into filmmaking and telling these narrative stories.
I mean, what's interesting is, so I'm a photographer also, and I similarly started out with film. So it was spending hours editing mini DV in Avid until I chose. I chose still photography in the end over video, right? Yeah. And I think, you know, we sat down before with Joshua Duane, who is heavy in the photography world as well. And, you know, it's kind of, we hear him go into film. Now, with that said, I wanted to get an understanding from you of what do you consider your specialty? And then even just in still photography by itself. One of the things that I've heard is that as a photographer, you really have to pick your subgenre and kind of stick to it in a sense to make that your big thing that you do, right? That people know you for, that you can make a living out of it for. So I also want to get your stance on that. Because as a photographer, you can shoot anything, but what is your specialty? And do you think it's true that you have to be specific?
My specialty, I guess I could say something I'm more in the realm of like I guess, fashion and commercial photography. I would say as far as like what it is that people may possibly know me for, I consider myself a street photographer, like first and foremost, and then all those other things after. But I just consider myself a photographer. Like I don't really consider like having like a specialty or anything like that. I always try to challenge myself by changing my subjects, by changing the things that I shoot or look at or what I find to be interesting. I just really use that as my kind of overall compass. And as for what people say about having to choose a genre, I would say that there is a benefit to sticking to one type of thing or two type of thing that people kind of know you for. But overall, I just think like there's no real right or wrong way really to get around it. I feel as though like you're just gonna pick whatever speaks to you the most as far as the subjects go, and that's kind of the direction that you kind of go in.
Do you feel the same way about film as well?
With film, yeah. I mean, like I don't know. I feel as though when I started in video, I was more so like on the documentarian side, right? I really love to like just watch and film real life what's going on. So I'll even do like even before I even started doing photography full time, I was shooting parties at night. Like I would go to different parties, we shoot, we have like a little host and shit like that. And it was like just documenting a scene or what was going on. And that's kind of what my first entryway into video was earlier on in my career, because I would just be filming like street stuff that's going on. I film events and do recaps of those things. And it's only now that I'm kind of entering more like the storytelling realm as far as like actually like creating like written works to like then be filmed versus like just going out and just documenting.
Well, you mentioned, working in fashion brands with fashion brands. I've noticed you work Nike, Adidas, Coach. How do these opportunities come about?
Honestly, I don't know. They kind of just come sometimes. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I just really me personally, what my number one tact for even creating or going about my career was just like really to focus on the work and be able to share it. Like make sure you're creating something that's good, that's that speaks to people, and then the kind of like the work kind of just comes afterwards. So like a lot of the stuff that I've had kind of really just started off from like a DM or a person seeing my work somewhere else and getting referred to somebody else, and then it comes back to me. If I could say any kind of like pathway or tactic really is to do, is really just to like I said, continue to put good works and also maintain great relationships. So the people who do reach out to you and want to hire you for work, make sure that you keep them close and make sure you actually like maintain some kind of connection, or if it is there, right, that you maintain it and then you nurture it. And I think more stuff kind of comes from that.
Yeah. So in terms of like the process, is it something where they come in and they just ask you to shoot? Or is it like, they want to do a collaborative situation? Does it vary from brand to brand? Like, how does that work?
I would say it varies from brand to brand, but I would say overall, the overall thing is like they usually just come with an email. It's usually like an agency or the brand itself will usually reach out and they'll be like, hey, we have this, like say for instance for shoes, right? Because I shoot a lot of stuff with Adidas. So they're like, oh yeah, with your shoe coming out, like, here's the idea that we have behind it. And a lot of times they give you a lot of creative freedom, especially depending on what the actual shoot is. And they'll be like, this is kind of the idea that we have or we're going for. Like, let's see your take on it. And then I get to like grab the shoes and I get to go outside and just like figure out, in my own style, I guess I would say, how I would tell this story around this product.
If you ever need a sneaker model, I'm available. I love fresh kicks, man. I love cakes.
You got what size shoe?
I'm 10.5.
You gotta have sample size, bro.
That's it. That's it. That's the size to be at.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
There's definitely a lot of fun with that. But I mean, what are some of the challenges when you're working with one of these larger brands like an Adidas versus working with someone that's more of like an independent company, et cetera? Like, are there challenges with the big ones?
The challenges I would say is that
not everything is decided by the person that is speaking to you, right? Like if the person who's reaching out to you on behalf of the brand is just one cog in the whole giant like structure. So like oftentimes you may have feedbacks that may not be returned back on time, like in a timely manner, or you'll like if you have an idea for something, it has to run up the chain before it can get approved to be done. So I feel like those are like some real challenges that you have to face. And then you also have to just face them not getting your vision sometimes, you know? And, you know, you just have to be like, all right, like, okay, we'll just do this your way for this instance, because this is just what you wanted, so.
I mean, has there ever been a situation where you shot something that was just crazy dope for one of these brands and you're like, yo, this is it, and they just didn't use the footage afterwards? Does that happen often?
I wouldn't say it happens often, but I mean, I think I've been shooting for like, 7 years full time now. Like, it's probably occurred where it's like, we didn't want, well, not even that we didn't want any of these photos. It would just probably be like the one that I thought I liked the best. They didn't want to use that one, and they just went with something else. And that's kind of what is the norm, I feel like. And when it comes to work with brands, that the one that you like or the one that you want to pick, they probably not gonna like. You just got different tastes. It's fine.
Now, I mean, you mentioned the brands, but let's talk about artists, because I know recently you had to work with Ghostface Killer.
Oh yeah,
he just did the verses. I mean, yo, Wu legend. What was it like working with Ghostface?
I mean, it was dope. It was very short lived, but it was cool experience, right? Because I said he's my favorite Wu-Tang member, and like I was shooting it for Bape. So Bape had a collab with Met Stadium, and they wanted Ghostface to be like the model for it. So they had Ghost in it. Shout out to Kevin. He kind of set up the whole shoot, and then we got to shoot it inside of the empty Met Stadium. It was just me, Ghostface, in an empty stadium. So we shot him in the jersey. It was really ill. Like, you know, we had about like maybe like, I would say like 15 minutes, and that's being like generous. Yeah, 15 minutes with him, and then but we just like knocked that out, got the jersey, got the shoot, and then, you know, it was one of like a real like accomplishment for me, I would say. Like especially looking back on it now, because like when I was in the moment, I was just like, I just gotta get this shoot done. I gotta get these photos off in 15 minutes. Like, there's not much time here. Like, but like looking back, I'm like, damn, like I shot Ghostface. Like, come on, like a whole legend. So that was ill. And he was pretty chill.
Now, I mean, just in regards to what were some of the other artists? Because I know the brands it's one type of vibe with the brands, right? But I mean, even so, you did say that was with Bape, right?
Yeah.
So have there been any other big artists that you got to meet through these fashion brands that you got to work with as well?
I will say with working with Claire, we went to like I want to say the Virgin Islands. She was hosting their fashion show, and Taraji was one of their guests as well. So like we had a villa, and we were kind of all hanging out together, and that was like a real ill ass moment. Like we would just go around shoot, and we were on like one of the last days we were there. They gave us a yacht to pretty much go to like this other like smaller island, and then we were just like, on the boat, and then like she was mad fun. Like we were all like kind of nice. And she was like, yo, let's take some photos. And so we started snapping some photos on the yacht. And I was like, damn, this is so ill. Like, I'm shooting Taraji. And Taraji's like so down, so cool, so chill. And it's just like a real fun moment. And it's very, very intimate, which is like even more like just iller. Because it's not like you have to be on a shoot, actual photo shoot. It's just like you capturing life, like, which is like what I love to do.
Just everyone chilling, just enjoying life.
Chilling, enjoying life. It was a really, really nice moment. It was my first time on a yacht too, so I was just like, "Damn, this is crazy! I rocked to a yacht. This is nuts."
That's a movement. That's major moves. Yeah. Major moves. So before we get into your show Contemporaries, let's talk about the Facebook Black program.
Okay, word.
Like, what is that for those who don't know, and how has that helped you?
During like last year, when we had the protests for like George Floyd. You know, it was like the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, and like, you know, it was just a whole lot of like support around, you know, Black people and Black movements, and then, you know, brands kind of dedicated, you know, certain amount of money to I guess, helping the Black community out in certain kind of ways. And the ways that Facebook decided to do it was to start this Black creator fund, in which they had a fund that they had raised like almost like $25 million for this fund. And then what they did was they had Black creators who like kind of own their companies or whatever like that apply and kind of give like a small brief background on like what it is that you wanted to do with if you were to get this this grant. So I applied. I had a few people who told me to apply. I told people to apply, and I ended up getting selected for it. And so, you know, Facebook granted me like a grant in order to create content on my channels, and it was probably like one of the illest blessings I've ever had in my career.
And I mean, at that point, like, what was the first thing you did? Did you go out and get new equipment? Did you hire some assistants? Like, how did it?
I mean, the time between finding out that I got the grant and also like actually putting out my first project, it was so short that I didn't really have much time to really do much but like think about what it is that I want to do and create and be able to put out there. So I took that time to really just sit back and like, all right, what's needed? What's out there? What do you love to do? What do you see yourself wanting to continue doing and putting out to people? What are some things that you've thought in the past that you didn't have any kind of like, you know, backing or way to put out before? Like I was going through all these things in my head, and then that's when I kind of came up with the concept for Contemporaries, you know? Like, so Contemporaries was pretty much like, it actually started off as a photo exhibit idea that I wanted to go with. You know, I had time to reflect on like, you know, the past 5 years of like creating and being a photographer, and I'm like, damn, along this way I met so many ill people. Like, I actually need a photo of each and every single one of them, because I mean, I just know that these people are going to change the world in the future. And so I want to be the first person or early person to document them and take their portrait. So it started off as a photo project essentially, and then when after the Facebook Black Creator Fund happened, I was like, damn, what if I tell these stories in video as well? And so like that's when I partnered up with my boy Joe Cav, and I wrote the concept. You know, I picked out the first few talents that we wanted to showcase, and then we went from there.
So why did you feel the need to add this on as an element to the brand and what you're building creatively?
I feel as though like we're in a creative renaissance right now, and I feel that the stories of the people who are literally leading the movements or, you know, inspiring movements aren't really being told, you know, and they themselves are too engulfed in the things that they're creating or making to even notice that this is something that they need to be documented, you know? So I felt that, you know, myself and my boy Joe as documentarians of New York City, you know, it's important to at least have some kind of like running archive of these people who are like doing really, really amazing things. Yeah. And it's like, and I also feel like, you know, like when you are looking for something that you don't see out there, it's usually a sign that you should be the one making it. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what it kind of was to me. I'm like, damn, why isn't there something that's like really telling the stories of these people, right? We know about what's going on with, you know, big celebrities like Kim K or these other people, or other, you know what I'm saying? But like, who's the one telling the stories on the ground? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of what I wanted to start and do.
So when it comes to the AIC, American Influencer Council, what's your role there?
Yeah, I'm one of the founding members. So earlier on at its inception, is one by the name of Kiana Smith. She, who I've known through shooting the U.S. Open. She was pretty much the manager of U.S. Open social channels during the U.S. Open around like 2017 and 18 season. And so like I've met her like, you know, at a festival like probably 2 years prior to that, and then she had hired me to like be one of the photographers to shoot for US Open during those 2 years. Wow. And so like I created a great relationship with her, which goes back to what I say about like, when you have people who reach out to you and like provide you opportunities, it's important to maintain these relationships, and nurture these relationships. Right. And so like fast forward after the US Open and her totally killing that thing, she saw that there was a void in the whole influencer space, right? So she saw that the influencer industry is becoming a $5 billion industry, and like why is there anything around to like kind of like guide people who are wanting to pursue this as a career? Like it is actually a career path for many people already. So she wanted to start that, and then I, knowing her and knowing her tenacity and who she is and her leadership skills, I was like, yo, I'm gonna stand behind you in doing this, because I think that there is a void, and there should be like some kind of like resource for people to be able to like learn more about this industry.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I mean, what's the process? Even if someone says, hey, I want to be part of this, like how open are you guys for entries in regards to that?
Yeah, we had memberships opening for like founding members for a bit, and then I think we reached up to like 30 members, and we kind of just wanted to slow it down because we didn't want it to overgrow the base. We wanted to actually like make it something that's going to be growing organic and moving slowly, and like a living kind of thing where it kind of like grows over time. So I think that's where it's at right now, but we wanted to is be a resource, if anything, mostly. Like, it's just like people can come to us with questions about like what they should be doing. There are people who are talking to like the leaders of these of huge corporations, and then we're trying to like adjust things the way that how the process is done, so that people are treated fairly, people are getting the fair amount. For a lot of the time in this, although the industry is very, very new, there's already like issues with it already as far as like pay. Fair pay during for influencers to gain doing campaigns and whatnot. Like we notice that there's a lot of like inequality in those spaces. So we're trying to be like at least a voice to be guiding these companies on best brand practices and whatnot.
Gotcha. I mean, it's an important space to create for creatives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's there, and although like.
Obviously, like influencer has like a very like awful connotation to it at times. It's like also about like reestablishing like the importance of being leaders in a certain specific field of your lifestyle, whatever it be. Like we want people to like. I mean, for me personally, I'm an artist who has an influencer following, right? So like, it's one of those things where you kind of want to establish yourself in this space as being someone who has something of value to offer people versus you just being someone with a lot of followers who just takes cute pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of like the direction that we would want for the AIC.
I mean, I definitely want to dig into that a little bit more for you. I mean, how do you kind of curate it as such? Like how do you make sure that it's not just that you're this guy who's amassed a lot of followers and people are actually here for your art?
Yeah. Like how do I master that? I mean, honestly, it's
not something that I give too much time or credence to the thought of, because then that becomes like you just fall down a rabbit hole of like, how do people perceive me? How do people see me? How do people that? And you're not really focusing on what it is that you love to do, which is like create. So I mostly just try to create the most genuine and sincere works that I can, and however people view me or their perspective of me is like up to them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not really for me to like to take on. It's just for people to just see, observe, and get what they feel out of it.
I mean, you definitely got a few different things going on, but I mean, right now, what is the future for Pierre? What is your immediate focus? And is it strictly film? What's next for you?
Yeah, I mean, right now for me, it's a few different pathways. Like I try to stay busy. Like I try to try different things. But like for right now, it's definitely contemporaries is like a very, very top priority for me. I really want to continue to tell stories about these artists and these creators. We just dropped our 5th episode this week, and like, you know, like I just feel as though we're really like starting to gain our identity in the space, and kind of how our groove on how we tell these stories. So like that's really like a really big project for me, and I would love to see that it grow. And you know, we're still trying to finish season 1, and hopefully you get start a season 2 somewhere. You know, someone wants to partner up with us and create a season 2, or maybe we just do this fully independent. That's also something that we've thought about as well. We've also thought about entering like the short film route as well. Like, so I'm getting into like writing myself. You know, I'm not really a writer by trade or art, but I feel as though like I have a lot of stories up here, and I'm just trying to put them on paper so that they can eventually be shot and be shared with people that way. So that's like another thing. And what's one of the more interesting spaces, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the whole NFT space that's going on right now. That is definitely another thing that, you know, I've been deep diving into over the past 7 months so far, like just getting into the space and like, you know, learning more about it, learning all its the principles, what it could do, what does it mean for artists in general as far as ownership of your intellectual property, you know, like that kind of thing is like very much at the forefront of my mind right now. So I would say like those 3 things really.
I mean, I do want to tie it in. Just you just speak about like U.S. Open or sports a little bit, and I think a lot of sports fans are starting to hear even more and more about NFT. I think especially now with the NBA, there's different websites, etc. How do you see it tying in outside of sports? Because I think people are familiarizing themselves so much with it in certain spaces. Yeah. But where do you see it going with sports and outside of sports with the NFT?
Yeah, well, the NFT is like what it's ended up doing is creating like these things called non-fungible tokens, right? And you know, essentially, it's become a new way for people to be able to claim ownership over things, right? So, like, you know, they're minted into the blockchain, and then from then on, everyone who's on the blockchain can see, like, you know, Blue Dope is done by you 4 guys here, and lady, and that, you know what I'm saying, like, you guys are the owners of this podcast, and so now people can now invest into that, you know. And so now, like, you get, now you can get earned royalties off of your own creators that you never was able to do before. So, like, this thing is, like, it's bigger than, like, just even doing the NBA thing. It's literally, I personally feel like it's really going to be the way people, it's all going to be our way of life in a sense. Like, down to, like, you know, whatever, you know, T-shirt brand you want to start or idea that you come up with, all these things could be, like, just minted through the blockchain, and then now everyone knows that you are the guy who did it, or you were the first person to purchase it, you know what I'm saying? Or you own one of the 100 T-shirts that you made, or virtual T-shirts that you made, you know? Like, it's actually fully insane of a concept, but I really feel as though, like, that's where the world is going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, as the more and more, especially after being in quarantine and
yeah,
lockdown and all that stuff, we are definitely in the digital age full on. There's no doubt about it. So we might as well better prepare ourselves for what's more to come.
I agree. It's better to prepare yourself for the future than try to, like, live in the past, I would say. I'm very much into the future. I'm into all the sci-fi stuff. I'm into all of it. So, like, I'm already just down with it already. I'm like, let's go into the future. Let's make a world where, you know, artists are, you know, really fully rewarded for their work. You know, for many years, artists have always been, you know, the one who inspired the most but received the least out of everything. So it's like, let's just switch that up real quick. Let's get our just due.
Let's get it with that. So contemporaries are already now want a rope camera strap because of you and the contemporaries. So, I mean, let the people know, where can we find you? Where can we find contemporaries and the other works you're working on?
Fire. Yeah, Contemporaries is all on my social channels. So you can find me on @Visuals by Pierre on Instagram, Visuals by Pierre on Facebook as well. It's on my artist page there. And my website, visualsbypierre.me. So you can go any of those places. You can see the Contemporaries episodes. We're still working on the Instagram page so that we can just do digestible content on there as well. Because a lot of it is semi to long form. Like we have like some videos that are like 3 minutes, and we have like our interview portions that can be up to like 30 minutes. So yeah, like there's a variety of stuff on there so that you can see. Yeah.
Is there anything next on the horizon for you, professionally, personally, that people need to look out for?
I'm just hoping, I'm just waiting for the thing to open up, really, like, so that, because I love to travel. Like, travel is like another one of my inspirations, and I've honestly been exploring the idea of, possibly like living abroad for like a few months to a year, maybe just somewhere new, a new language, new scene, like just get like fresh eyes on something new. I've been living in New York my entire life, so I'm like, maybe we can get a little bit of, this place or that place to kind of, spice things up a little bit.
Yo, we definitely want to thank the homie Pierre for chatting with us. His story is the perfect example of the figuring it out creative. So many of us are in or have been in the same boat, and I know his journey resonates with so many. I mean, we can't wait to see what you do next, sir.
For sure. I definitely would say he's got this thing figured out. Highly sought after in the industry. And I want to thank Pierre once again for sharing with us.
A little reminder, everybody, you can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/Blue Dope. That's patreon.com/BLUEDOPE.
And we want to thank all of you for your support. We couldn't do the show without you. So the feedback is amazing and helpful, and we really, really appreciate it.
Hey, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, rate and review. Apple lets you put it all on the table. So also tell a friend to tell a friend. I mean, every interaction moves us up the list and helps us to be found. You'll also be the first to know when a new episode is posted. You get that super early notification. So, real talk, I really hope you are all learning from the show and not keeping all of the gems to yourself. Each one teach one, and we will all advance forward.